Why don't I make a motion to approve the minutes from 26th June?
I will second that.
Any other discussions or comments? Go ahead.
Okay. I just had this letter, that I gave everybody a copy of from Patrick Cashman. And I also,
Did we vote on that? Did we?
I guess we did.
Okay, good. Sure.
and just gave you notices for the Morrisville Authority meeting next Thursday for the grievance appeals. All the information on them is there. That's all I got for today.
One question, Linda, for the technical term for if people had an informational meeting, you know, not the BCA meeting, how many people took advantage of that? Discussions with the NIMRIC people, and you, just roughly, just.
Okay, so people informational that repeated to the grievance?
No, like, people that sat down and wanted to understand your appraisal. Was there much interest? Was there 10 people, 15 people?
Oh, no, we had a full schedule. I can't remember how many people. And then we had people come in for grievance that missed the informational, which basically weren't really grievances, but just to go over because,
Right.
you know, they missed the deadline for the informational and they noticed maybe the square footage was off or, you know, something. But they, overall, you know, I don't have the numbers in front of me, I have the minutes in the office, but overall, out of everybody we've seen, there was only 3 that wanted to take it to the BCA for a hearing, so.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Everybody was pretty happy. You know, once everything was gone over with them and they understood the process and how the system worked and everything.
Were there any changes, many changes?
There were changes, because you start going over everything and, you know, there's changes both ways too. You ask them what kind of heating system they have and we had it as one thing and it's another.
Yeah.
You know, it may up one thing but may lower a different category too, you know, so.
Yeah.
But,
It'll be interesting when we get some kind of visibility to be able to answer the questions that I'm sure everyone's getting is, how will this affect my tax bill?
right,
Because, you know, when you say the grand list is gonna go up X, but the spending in the town went up approximately 7%. So all things being equal, your bill is not gonna go up any more than 7, or approximately 7% on the municipal side. But I mean, less ability to predict to people that are asking questions about the implication of the school side, which is 2/3 of the tax bills. So, I mean, those are just questions that I'm sure everyone's hearing. I'm hearing them. We had the Pond Association meeting, and there was a lot of questions asked by, especially the people who had leases on the pond. And some anxiety, but because they didn't have their bills, I mean, they don't really know what it's gonna feel like yet. But there's still a great interest on how it's gonna affect bills.
yeah. Well, and everybody has that, but right now, of course, we have 204 current use parcels, and I'm down to, I think, about 30 left to certify. So I can't, you know, we have to get we have to get current use gone through and loaded onto the grand list before we go to the next step anyway. So I'm hoping by the end of the week, that'll be done. Have District Advisor Benton coming in on Thursday to help with a couple parcels that I need, you know, extra guidance on. There's a couple parcels on the pond that have current use that are a little more tricky to do. So just need that, but current use hopefully will be done by the end of the week, and then the change of allocation letters on current use can go out, because they have also 2 weeks to come in and go over the current use, and it's like, oh no, that building, it's supposed to be this building, or whatever. They won't change the bottom line of the assessment, but what's in current use, what isn't in current use. They can come in and, go over how their current use allocation was, broken down. And some current use parcels are very good. They got a barn, a silo, 2 sheds and a sugar house. Okay, so you know what you're looking for. Other ones say 5 buildings, and there might be 20 buildings on the property. So it's not as cut and dry as,
Yeah.
so. Anyway, that's all I
What's your
have.
best guess on the tax bills going out?
The tax bills will go out the last week of August,
Okay.
or the second to the last week, who knows? I'm shooting for the
Later.
last week of
Yeah.
August.
Yeah.
They're due the first Friday in November, so.
Good.
That's another question I get from a lot of people, when's the tax bill coming?
You know what? You tell them the last week of August, and if they go out the week before,
Oh, yeah, that's good. Yeah.
but, yeah, that's what we shoot for. So get them out
Yeah.
the end of August. But, so anyway, that's all I've got.
So do you wanna go over this in the executive session, this letter?
It's,
No, there's no action to take. You can hear what he's got to say and look and
Melissa?
We had a meeting tonight to review the proposals. We asked for 3 proposals for hydrological studies on the PUD on Church Road, and we only received 1. One person gave us a pretty extensive proposal that included going door to door as well as reviewing all the hydrological information in the state, going door to door and talking to neighbors and using that to help form their opinion. One other engineer said that after he reviewed the project, he felt like the town water supply was too far away to have any effect, so his opinion was already formed, and that we would be wasting our money if we tried to have a project, or tried to have him do a project, because he's already made his mind up. And the third one that we asked just never even responded. So we approved the one that is extensive, primarily because we want the neighbors to be heard. We want them to feel like we did due diligence. There's no guarantee that the study's results will come back and be 100% right. But we think it'll be in the interest of the developer as well, because he doesn't want to sell 8 lots that can't get water. So if someone actually goes out and looks at the actual water supply, and that he'll be better informed also. So the way that we structured it when we approved the initial sketch plan was that we were going to choose a hydrological engineer, and they were going to pay for it. So we have to pay, we'll sign the contract, and we'll pay for it, and they'll reimburse us as part of their project. So that's $4,981, which I need you guys to sign.
What are the, go ahead.
no,
I'm curious, the credentials of the, I'm curious the credentials of the person who turned down the study. But I guess my question is, are you satisfied with the credentials of the person that you selected?
So Peter is an engineer and architect engineer, and he is well connected to.
Peter on your board?
Yeah, he's well connected to a lot of engineers. And so he reached out to a lot of people and sort of asked opinions, and found 3 who were interested in the project, who have good reputations. And the one that we got, we felt really comfortable with him, mostly because our initial proposal was just for a review of the hydrological data from the state and looking at flow rates and so on in the town water supply. And he came back to us and said, you know what, this isn't adequate, you need more. It needs to be defensible in court, it needs to be more extensive, and it needs to be, you need to talk to the people and see what the people's real concerns are. So his approach, as well as his engineering expertise, appeals to the board, and that's why we chose him. So in short, yes, we are satisfied with his credentials.
Is it common in other towns that town pays for this?
Because we are contracting so that it is, an independent study. There was concern that if they paid for it initially, they would find an engineer to support their belief that it had zero impact on anything. So by us choosing,
But I
But
think
what's
it, I
common
think
practice?
it's a common practice for the town to do it and then get reimbursed.
yeah,
I'm not in big favor of it. I don't know enough about it, and unless they're bonded or we have some way to guarantee that we're getting our money back. I get what you're doing. I agree with the third party independent. I agree with that.
unless who's bonded, the
The
developer.
developers, so we can get.
So there's
money
been
back.
discussion about that. There's nothing in our bylaws that says that they have to be bonded. Apparently their LLC that purchased the property has been terminated. And the concern from the neighborhood is that, hearsay, man, I don't wanna say
Yeah,
hearsay.
no.
The concern from the neighborhood is that they should be bonded because the LLC has been terminated, and there have been discussions about them not following through on projects. They're just doing a subdivision, basically. I don't even know why they're calling it a PUD. It's an 8-lot subdivision. They could have put 40 houses in there, because PUDs only need a quarter acre. So there's no reason for them to have chosen a PUD and gotten into this, but we don't require a bond. You can direct us to require one if you want, but it is.
No, I'm just saying, as a member of this board, to put $5,000 out to benefit a developer, granted, we're looking to also benefit our citizens, but if this comes back and it's not in the developer's favor, he's just gonna walk away.
That is
Oh, well,
That is entirely possible. If it were to come
and I'm not
back,
worried about $5,000, $5,000 is not a big deal, but the next project, when we have to do a $150,000, or this $5,000 leads into
it's a good point. Because
10 other issues.
if it were to come back that the property itself can't support 8 wells, then they'll obviously change their plan.
Where does the court, where does this study
You're
go
right.
from here? Does it go to the court and all of a sudden we get drawn into it and we have to pay lawyers to go defend ourselves?
So if it was to go, if the townspeople don't, so there's a few scenarios that are possible. If the townspeople that are opposed to the project take it to environmental court, it's my understanding that we don't pay for that. They take a copy of our bylaws and a copy of the project, and we don't really get represented in environmental court. They just decide based on paper. So that wouldn't count. If the developer takes us to court, that's different. That's different.
Right, and I'm not saying it's this project or what, but this.
It could be this
coming
project,
down,
if they take
so-
us to court, because we're asking them to do something that their engineer already told them is not of any consequence. It's a quarter-mile distance from the project to the town water supply. And, I mean, they could take us to court for asking them to do it. They could.
I think what Dave is saying is in one way, we're cash flowing a part of the project.
Uh-huh.
The voters, the taxpayers of Fairfield. That's what you're we have some exposure.
Yeah.
if
We
they-
have some exposure, but it's in order to support the concerns of said taxpayers. Well,
I think
70
that, I
taxpayers.
mean, I don't know if it's feasible or if we can, I don't know if we could make a motion to bond, just so it doesn't end up something like a hole in Newport?
Well, yeah, it's smaller scale, but same sort of idea.
Yeah.
We have not required a bond thus far. You can do what you want. That's my understanding.
Well, is
We
it,
could make them be bonded just for this
is
project.
would it be reasonable for, just as an idea, for, you know, that said, you had your motion tonight by your board,
Uh-huh,
and instead of, you know, you go to the developer and say, hey, we'd like 50% of this down now, because, you know, we're starting, you know, 50% down, we're starting this work.
Yeah,
we
I think
could,
my-
we didn't include it as a requirement in the decision.
Do they have like a contract that they're gonna pay for that?
It's part of the decision that was made of the sketch plan approval.
So
The
they,
sketch plan is approved with the condition that you pay for a hydrological study contracted by the town. So if the project moves forward, then yes, they would have to be bound by that. So because we didn't say at the beginning that they have to pay 50% at the beginning of the project, I don't know. I would have to check and see if
That's
we
fine.
can.
I don't,
In terms of bonding, we didn't say it then, but could we say it now, that they have to be bonded? I don't think we can change the decision we made before, but at the next step, if you decide you want them to be bonded for the cost of the project, we could.
so in your agreement or contract, is it pass or fail, they still need to pay for that?
Yes, the hydrological study has to be completed in order for the project to go to the next stage.
But if it doesn't go to the next stage, do we have to pay for that? If it doesn't pass,
I don't think there's wording that addresses that, to be honest.
yeah, I think I would look for legal advice and make sure we're doing it the way other towns do and regroup before we.
I don't think, I don't know if I have.
I mean, I think it's money well spent for the people that are
Yeah.
opposed to it.
Yeah.
And it's the only way they're gonna get their answers, or get a true answer, is
Right,
on a
but
third party
it's tricky business, the whole water. I think I told you, I have a brother-in-law who does this for a living, and he knows Fairfield very well. We had a discussion this weekend about the town water system, and Dan Batchelor drilling, and, you know, when I talked to him about where should we drill, he says, pick it where you know, pick it as close to the house as you want it, because we can't really predict. I mean, that's not to question, I think what you're doing is reasonable, and bringing the, you know, the neighbors into it is reasonable. And, you know, the input I've gotten from a couple of farmers is, I don't have as much problem with the development is, but I'm concerned about water. So, I mean, I think what you're doing is reasonable, but there is concern about water.
And I guess I'm looking at it outside of this project of water, or the next time somebody wants a roundabout or change a road or whatever, well, you paid, you know, for this guy's hydrological study, why don't you do my $200,000 study? I don't know, I just,
Well, we are paying, but it's kind of almost an escrow. I mean,
I get, maybe that's a better word
Yeah.
than bonding, you know, just, there's gotta be some recourse, it can't just be, oh, you're gonna pay us if it doesn't work.
So the legal opinion that we need to get is, can we make them put it in escrow in advance of the project?
Maybe that's the way to do it,
yeah, or just, is there another way to structure it so that, you know, the town?
Right, this is common, everybody goes through this, whether you're South Burlington or Fletcher, I mean, there's a
Yeah, this is-
set manner in which to handle these projects.
just to guarantee that we get our money.
Yep.
It's gonna be a. But I think, you know, for the
You
sake
put
of
it in
for
escrow,
the people,
you put an escrow, but you still need language saying that they need to pay if it doesn't pass.
right. well,
Whether it
they
goes to
gotta
the next
pay-
step or not.
Gotta pay one way or the other,
Yeah.
right? But I'm just saying that I think it'd be money well spent for the people that are,
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
there's,
yeah,
there's
no, I-
not just
I
two
don't-
or three, there's quite a
Yeah.
few that
Yeah.
are concerned, and this would answer
Right.
a lot of their questions,
Yep.
or all their questions, hopefully.
Who knows? Okay.
How quick do you need an answer? Do we need to move on this?
To be frank, no one's in a big rush. Craig Heindel, the guy who's saying he's available to do the project, is available. How long that will be the case, I don't know.
Okay.
But
So,
should there be a delay?
no, we don't want to delay, we want to move it forward, that's what I'm saying. If we reach out to the lawyer, basically we're asking for guidance on how to move forward with this. Can it wait till our next meeting?
I don't know the answer. I don't know. What lawyer should I ask?
We have one on retainer, right?
The one, Jim, what is it, Jim
Barlow,
Barlow?
and his phone number.
I mean, I would be worthy to, if she got the right answer, or if he could give her the right language, I'd give her approval to do it before the next meeting.
I agree. Yeah.
Is the legal opinion to either put it in escrow or bond, or both? What's
Just the language that we're guaranteed to get our money. Whatever his language is. And they're willing to do that.
Yeah, and with the caveat for you, Melissa, that if you've already, it's hard to change things that have already been established. So, I mean, there's gotta be some honoring, and I know you've been very consistent with that.
Trying.
So get the language and then, you know what I mean?
I get it.
Explain to them where we're at and how do we move forward.
Yeah, is there a way we can,
Protect ourselves
yeah.
Okay.
from default.
And, you know, and then this time, in the next project, I mean, we'll have that to begin with, to know that we have to have that language in there.
Yeah. And I'll just remind you that we're already in $1,800 for this project to have an RPC review it. It's an expensive
Mhm.
project.
And that's,
But
you
it
know,
being our
and that's
first-
bigger than that's just this project
Yes,
though. We're
absolutely,
gaining,
it's bigger.
yeah, gaining more
Yes.
perspective, a little more depth, a little, you know, a little
Well,
more.
this is learning curve that we're learning
Sure.
as we go along, and know what we gotta do next time, and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
So how do you want to make a motion or?
I will, I did, if you can get the legal language, I'll let you go ahead and do it.
I'll second it, yeah.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm good with that, I'm just, you guys got it, just three,
So does that mean you're abstaining or does it mean you're in favor?
I'm saying,
Okay.
yes.
Hold on one second, I don't wanna forget.
No? That's fine.
The other thing that you should know about is that as of July 1st, the Home Act, which has a fancy title, I don't remember what it is, something about housing, statewide, changed, that anywhere we allow homes, single-family homes, we must now allow duplexes. So that will be a change in our bylaws because it is state mandated. So anywhere we allow homes, we must allow duplexes. Just an FYI.
Any inquiries about that yet?
No, it's only July 10th. We did have, there's a developer on St. Pierre Road who built, I don't know, he has maybe an 8-lot subdivision. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 lots, 6 or 7 lot subdivision he has 1 or 2 buildable lots remaining that he hasn't built on yet, and he's been holding out for this because he wants to put duplex. And so he hadn't started building the project because he's waiting.
Some of this is coming down the pike.
I mean, he was hoping we would change our laws or that the state would or something, so I would assume that he will go forward now and build a duplex.
I think I read that on the news and stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's as a result of the housing needs survey,
Right.
which, I mean, we're all aware, there's just not enough housing, period. And I mean, I've said this to you before, I think, but we have half of the crowd telling us, our kids can't afford to live here, they can't afford to build, there's nothing to live in. And the other half saying, we don't want to see any development, keep Fairfield, Fairfield. It's a pretty tough tightrope to walk and not piss off people, to be frank.
You're not gonna keep everybody happy. so-
Absolutely not. And, I
And
mean,
it's only gonna get worse going down the road.
it is, especially, well, I mean, maybe we're gonna do a bylaw review. Hopefully we'll get a grant in September to do a bylaw review, and we'll address the concerns that people are having with the PUD. We need to have PUDs. We'll just massage the rules a little to make people happier, but we have to have the ability for people to develop. Because we have such a terrible housing shortage. And what the crowd told us was, let someone else deal with it, we don't want it in Fairfield. I don't know that we can get away with that.
Well, I think, like you say, I think landowners are gonna want to be able to do some houses for their kids or,
Exactly,
so.
exactly. And you can't tell people what to do on their own property, like, that's just not cool. We can have some parameters, but we can't say,
No.
no, it's just not right. That's all I have.
Thank you.
So, Mo is not here today, but he had a couple questions. He had basically one big question. So he worked with Deb Bushy on Pumpkin Village Road signs, that's all in the works. But he wanted to know specifically what signs you want for the Riley Road gate. He said that, well, I told him that we had talked about leave no trace and your GPS is wrong. He's also heard someone say no ATVs. So it would be better for him if you could come up with a decision on what sign or signs you'd like to see there, and then he can make the order.
I don't know if we need much of any signs, honestly. This is the Pennant Road, and keep gate closed or something, but.
Yeah, in our last meeting, we did talk about just the GPS was wrong and leave no trace. But I don't know if that's changed or he just wanted to make sure that we had that agreement somehow with you guys.
Road closed to through traffic, it's not really though.
That's what I mean,
Could say public technically it's a public trail, right?
It's a class, what is it?
Class four.
Class four.
road, so it's not a
But is it
trail.
a class 4? I mean, if you look on a map, I think it says trail. I don't think it says class 4 road. That's the question.
It's little bubbles. It's
What's
not,
that?
it doesn't say trail, it says, it'll say class 4 road.
We can go look, there's a map hanging in the zoning office.
Yeah, it's also right on our website, so I
Yeah,
can pull it
yeah,
up if you'd
it's
like.
actually,
What's that?
it's a class 4 road, that's it.
When does a road become a trail?
Yeah, it's definitely not a trail.
When it's thrown up?
No,
So I don't think it's either, it could be either or, I mean, a road or a trail, it's just a class 4 road is not maintained.
Right.
But
So
we
it
own
could
the
be
right
a-
of way still.
Could be a trail or, whatever anybody wants to use it for.
Also, when you look that stuff up before, can't you just designate it as a trail or designate it as Pent Road? There's 3 or 4 ways you can designate that.
I don't remember that. I can look it up, but I don't remember that.
I
I
thought
did some
Melissa sent us
reading.
a bunch of information.
What was that?
I thought it was Melissa that
Close
sent
the
us
through
that.
traffic.
A pent road is any town highway by written allowance of the selectmen is enclosed and occupied by the adjoining landowner with unlocked stiles, gates and bars in such places as the selectmen designate.
So that's what we're looking at, and
Yeah.
that's what was decided in last meeting. So the question really becomes, what do you want to put on the signs? And the big concerns were that it's being trashed, that people think that they can turn onto it because their GPS was telling them to, and,
How about two signs, just as the, no littering and close the through traffic. It's an unlocked gate with close the through, two signs.
I'm not sure that it is closed to through traffic, is it?
Well, it is to UPS trucks or somebody's following.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to
Yeah,
figure out. the
that's
verbiage to
that's what
say.
we heard, people are making deliveries.
But that's from, on the other end, that's not gonna be on our.
Well, on both ends. There's some coming up from this end as well.
Melissa, is there anything in that statute that's kind of gives us a hint for a sign?
This is definition, so hold on a sec.
I didn't, well, she could also ask Jim about the legal status of what
Yeah.
she's gonna be talking to him anyway.
So we did talk to
I
him
don't
about
wanna
this.
get into too detailed, but.
We did talk to Jim about this, and the big question at that time was, what would be the benefits or not of throwing up the road? So, I can go get that information. I brought it to you all last fall, I believe, or something.
Well, I'll tell you what we could do right now is table the sign question to the next meeting, put the gate up,
Okay.
and we'll, I think that's what Tom said last time, too, let's put the gate
Get
up,
up and see what happens.
see what happens, and then we'll staff the question of the sign.
Maybe we don't need a sign, just get the gate put on.
Okay.
That's a big deal, I mean, a closed gate is a big deal.
Oh, yeah, that'll stop.
A trail means a public right-of-way that is not a highway and that previously was designated as a town highway having the same width as the designated town highway or a lesser width if so designated. Or it could be a new public right-of-way laid out as a trail by the selectmen for the purpose of providing access to abutting properties for recreational use.
So, does everybody agree with no littering?
I think that's a good thing, yeah. Then if somebody does it, they say, hey, you violate, there's a posted sign, that's, they're
Yeah.
caught in it.
So
Yeah,
it's,
no littering.
so it's an unlocked gate with no littering?
I think if, I don't know, we can talk about this all night, but if you say no littering, it almost invites you to go in and not litter, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I think you put up the gate, no sign straight now, and then see how it goes.
Let's go.
I mean,
Or
you
no through traffic.
Could say it's no through traffic.
No
'cause
through
it's not a,
No through traffic, yeah.
cause it's not a,
Right,
like, if their GPS says yes, but it's not,
right.
I don't, it's not roadworthy or traffic.
Yeah, that's the verbiage I'm trying to think of, is how do you say,
Yeah,
your
no through
vehicle will
traffic.
not go through
Yeah,
here.
I mean, that's gonna save some people that are blindly, and also, you got a gate, if you have a sign, a fluorescent sign, someone driving at night, I mean, I know people running the gates at night.
Yeah, that's true too.
So you put a sign that's fluorescent that the headlights could see,
Yep,
and someone's just following their GPS,
okay.
So there are different definitions of roadways. Pent road is one, throughway is another. If it gives a throughway.
So we can say no through traffic.
Yeah, because it's not a designated highway.
So
or
you
something
could
like
call it
that.
a pent road, like physically put that on a sign that said pent road, no through traffic.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
But I think he could, while you're waiting for the signs, he
Yeah.
talked to me about getting gates, I told him where he could get them, but I don't know, depends where you put it, I said, put a cement block on each side.
Yeah,
If there's a tree big enough there, drill a hole through the tree,
Or something.
yeah.
put the gates on the tree, they don't have to worry about them bulldozing it over. Cause it's not gonna hurt the tree any. he said, that I told him probably a 16-footer, you know.
Yeah.
You know, if they're gonna wanna go around, they're gonna go around.
Yeah.
You know, if it's, I mean, like I said, that day that I stopped, come down through there was 15 dirt bikes. They don't take much for them to get around anything, they're just a narrow path, so.
Okay. No, I will let him know.
But I think next 2 or 3 days, he might be busy.
Could be.
Huh?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
this
they're-
rain is crazy.
Russo Road and all them would be flooded in the moment, Ryan Road.
They're not yet.
Huh?
They're not yet.
No, it's creeping, it's on the edge,
Yeah.
Berry Road?
parity,
Oh, Parody, I thought you said Berry. What?
there'll be some, I mean, if it stays nice like this, it's gonna come up, well, we hopefully won't get any washed up roads, but we're gonna have flooded roads.
So moving on, the North Road Culvert Replacement Project, we have an update from Tyler Billingsley. GMP is relocating the signs pretty soon. Jeff Corey is aiming to start around July 24th, which means notice boards and road closures, signs for this section of North Road will go up around July 17th soon. There will be about a week to prep the site with blasting. Ledge Tech is doing that, and they're aiming for the box culvert to be dropped in the site by mid-August. So that's the timeline at this point. So that obviously with any construction schedule, it can shift and move depending on what's happening.
How long is it closed for?
Until it's done. So again, the construction schedule can be, it's gonna shift and move depending on what's happening. We'll see.
So they're gonna keep it open as long as possible, then.
And then as soon as they need to close it for blasting, we're doing that.
I would say probably a month or more.
It looks like a month until we get the box culvert in from the time they start. So starting on July 24th.
Here's best.
Huh?
Not bad,
You think less?
I would think. But see how the weather holds and how everything shows up.
Yeah, a lot of this depends on what they're gonna hit down there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But, yeah, if he's got everybody lined up, he should be, I'm just precaution. Yeah, they'll be done quick as they can, because that's a good crew.
Yeah.
The FEMA project from last year in Ware Road, the SAM account is activated again. Thank you,
Congratulations.
Senator's office. Boy, that was like a flip of a switch within, I contacted them, they
What's
had
it
me.
called again?
Sand.
The SAM account,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't even know what that stands for, but it's the,
Sure.
account for the federal government.
Yeah, I remember what it is, the name went out of my head.
And, yeah, so that happened within a week from the time I signed the paper for them to help with it, and I'm really happy about that. But I also contacted, Kim Kanareki at the state, she's the FEMA advocate for the state of Vermont, and, she said that we are still in the process of being reviewed. There's no light at the end of the tunnel yet for that. She's still saying that it can be up from 6 to 12 months, but because we've gotten to the 6-month point, we should probably aim for 12 months, and our grant anticipation loan is maturing in 2 weeks. So we're going to need to re-up that loan. I did bring some information about what that means. The rate will stay the same in terms of interest. I talked to the bank about that. Currently, the interest is 1.75%.
Okay, so this is a reimbursement for the work that was already completed, it's passed an audit.
Right.
And this is a state AOT person, or this is a?
This is a state designated, this is a state employee that
Who's
is
the FEMA?
she's the FEMA liaison for all of the state contracts of Vermont. So she
So we're
works,
waiting on a
in
FEMA
Rutland.
reimbursement.
right,
And
at the
so
federal level.
here's another thought. Since you had such a good, pleasant experience getting a SAM account, call them back
Okay.
and say, we've just been told to expect 12 months, a year reimbursement, so the town of Fairfield is about to take another loan and spending the taxpayers' money on a reimbursement.
Yeah.
That's, and just that the select board would really appreciate their assistance in expediting, that's the term, right? Expediting a
Yeah.
reimbursement, you know, that we've just been told could take up to a year.
Yeah.
And we're about to spend thousands of dollars in anticipation of a,
Well, it's already been a year.
yeah, is it?
It's been 6 months since we took out the loan. But it's
Well, anyway,
been
I would
a
just,
year from
yeah,
the time
so
we started
I would,
the
you know,
project.
you had a
Almost a year.
great experience, call all three offices and say, hey, you know,
Yeah.
we'd like to
Okay.
get some visibility on this transparency, you know, some.
Okay, I can do that. In the, just in anticipating a 2-week turnaround for this grant being, I mean, this loan being due, the due amount is $206,247. The paperwork for that needs to be processed this week in order to have it ready for us to sign next week if the Sanders and.
Yeah, well, you need a motion to. Well,
I need a
I
motion.
would make a motion that you take steps to,
Expedite.
no, to
Obtain
send,
a loan.
obtain a loan, you know, anticipation of FEMA grants for up to 12 months. So was this a 6-month?
It was 6 months, so this would be another 6 months.
Yeah, and is there a reduction if we paid it off in a month or something, or like is it?
We wouldn't be paying interest anymore.
Yeah, okay, so, I make a motion that we reauthorize the same loan in anticipation of a FEMA grant. To work as bridge financing in anticipation of the FEMA grant.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Yeah.
All those in favor?
All right.
Thank you. Here's another interesting one. The Swanton Waterline Dam has raised its head again. The road obligations were in question, and so the Heidi Birch-Valenta, she used to be a town administrator of a separate municipality. Now she's the village Swanton Village Grant Specialist and Program Coordinator. And she's researching, there's a parcel owned on White Road with the dam, for those who don't know.
I'd like to go into the executive session on this
Yeah.
subject.
Okay,
It's a real estate issue.
okay.
You could
Yeah, that
continue,
makes sense.
you could continue with whatever you need, but, the village manager asked me, and I said, hey, you gotta contact you, but
Mhm.
we agreed it was a real estate question to be handled in executive session.
Okay. Second?
You got any more?
Yeah, and if there's anything more
I
that's
do,
public information, yeah, go
Just
ahead.
in terms of the next option, the next thing on my list is the insurance, the passive survey that I passed out to town administrators in the area. And I have a handout of their responses if you'd like to look at it. It's unilaterally positive. Everybody's very satisfied who replied, extremely satisfied. They're averaging at 11 years with passive at this point, and they are, they gave some really great feedback about the fact that they're very intentional with getting in touch with them. Somebody said that if we went with them, we should expect to always hear within 15 minutes. They're gonna, so. And I also have I did an email to everybody, so I have the email copy too, if you'd like to look at it.
Well, thanks for doing that.
So in terms of the current policy, I haven't, so for this year, the 2024 policy that we have with HUB, we owe $14,316, and HUB provided an estimated penalty of 10% for early termination if we decided to terminate early. So That is an estimate because
The
I've been
2024,
waiting 3 weeks for an
2023, or
answer. I haven't
2020,
heard.
2023 or 2024?
2024, which started in February.
Okay.
When is the renewal up?
It's in February.
How much was it?
The amount owed is $14,316.
And they'll charge us, what did you say?
10% for early termination is the estimate.
Yeah, it's kind of, we got half the information, so, and I know it's tricky. So we have a quote for early termination, which I think all of us would say, we don't want to pay a penalty. But what we don't know is what's the savings? Maybe we got it from the package, but the thing, as I remember, they said they wouldn't really know.
For the next year, we won't know.
Oh, okay.
So
What was, do you remember off the top the savings that we, or we could look at?
it was almost exactly the same. I have it in front of me here.
It was like 53,000, it was like pretty much the same between the two, except the passive, we had much better coverage, $1 million, much
10
better,
10 million.
right?
Yep. So currently, so again, we're going back to, oh wait, I think that we just paid $8,000. Our audit came back from our workman's comp audit, and this year it was about $8,000 off. So we paid just in this AP, it's an $8,000 amount to them. So so the amount we paid in workman's comp for 2022, 23 is more like 30,000. And then the total premium for all of the other insurance we have with them is $25,656. And the passive quote is for property and casualty workers, so property and casualty was $30,033, which is about $1,000 more for that, and then workers' comp was $25,035, and that's for this is 2023 coverage, so that would be about $5,000 more.
So
But it's
basically,
for,
we're midterm, is it worth paying the termination fee at this point? We have the legwork done, they have a quote in their system for us.
we can
I want-
upgrade, we can update it in the next year for.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, when it comes time for renewal, I'll put a reminder in the calendar in November to start saying, hey, we want a quote for the renewal period. Now we know what we're looking at, we've got the information,
So when is the renewal period?
February.
It's in February. We don't get the invoice for that until January. So we would want to make sure that we're communicating early, and November makes sense.
Yeah, also, these people start first of the year.
They start in January, but they would prorate the amount of that 1 month.
Yeah, but there's no need to start one, if you start with them, if you're gonna go with them, you might as well start with when they start.
Yeah, January,
Unless we have a penalty.
yeah.
No, because there'll be a penalty, or I say we take advantage of this policy we're on up until February, and tell these guys and the current one, February, give us your proposal, we'll look at them both, and February, when our renewal comes up, regardless of what their time frame is, February is when our current plan renewals, we'll either go with Hub on another 12 months, or we'll go with Passive on an 11-month prorated schedule.
Makes sense, but we need to do that earlier, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as possible, I'll let them know even this week that that's what we're thinking, and that's what we'd like to.
Yep, tell them thank you for the proposal, we're very happy with it, I think it's better than where we're at, but our renewal's up in February, have a quote ready for us mid-January, and we'll let you know.
All right, sounds good. And so the only other thing was the Swanton conversation, the dam
Yeah.
conversations.
You want to do anything else here before we So when he shuts it off,
Do you wanna approve the warrants?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the warrants.
second?
And I just, as an update, that we have not received the town clerk, the old town clerk office assessment yet, so that's why we're not discussing that tonight. And, if you want to discuss the, you had talked about possibly discussing the energy audit at this meeting, we can do that if you'd like. I don't know if that's something you wanna do before we leave, or.
Do you have, could you give it to us and we discuss it next meeting?
Sure.
I just read, I read somewhere that the state approved funding for all municipalities for energy audits.
So,
Did you
oh,
see
really?
that? Yeah, it was I just saw a headline on that.
There are grants available for improvements based on energy audits too. And what I'm giving you is the proposed improvements, but I didn't bring, I have one copy with me of the full amount, of the full audit, which is 11 pages long. If you would like that, I can either email it to you or give you a copy before you leave.
So I'll vote on the warrants.
Yeah. Is there any questions or anything else?
No.
All those in favor of approving the warrants?
Alright.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll read through this and get ready for it.
I'm gonna make a motion and go into,
Yeah, real quick before we do that, I had a guy that's been yakking about his neighbor's dog barking, and I think it was Saturday. Came into service and I had to play on my phone, and there was a voicemail from him full of F this and F that, and effing dog and effing do something, and I sent him an email that said, there's not much we can do, there's no noise ordinance, please don't call me again, email me, or I invited him to the meeting tonight.
You never heard back?
No, but
That was a very professional email.
Yeah, you did a nice job on
You
it.
did a nice
I
job.
did
Yeah.
write it 3 or 4 times, because I wasn't.
Well, thanks for doing
Just
that.
so everybody knows, this, he's probably not happy, but I'm not gonna get F'd at, screamed at,
No.
I mean,
Well, if there's anyone in our town that has an interest and expertise
Yes.
in mitigating dog-related neighbor
dogs,
issues,
ducks, woodchucks, you name it.
then that would be a real public service for our fire department, select board member, rec enthusiasts,
No,
for, like a lot of select board members
We
wearing
got a
multiple
problem with
hats.
we got a problem with the geese on Fairfield Pond.
Yeah.
I'll take care of that this fall, you give me a place to set up.
Something on house right now, I don't know why, so, thanks.
I can tell you what.
All right, let's move to executive session.
Okay, I make a motion, we move to executive session to discuss a real estate matter, discuss a real estate issue.